Welcome to the Fearful Fright series, where we will be reading with our favorite green ghoul, Grimmer. Now sit back and enjoy this twisted tale. Today our story is called Egyptian Fear. The man's name was Horemheb, and he lived in a mud brick house pressed tight against the eastern wall of Waset, the city the Greeks would one day call Thebes. He was a scribe of burial accounts, a quiet profession that paid well and demanded silence. Every day, he recorded names of the dead, tallied jars of organs, counted amulets placed upon chests that would never rise again. Horemheb believed the dead were safest when written properly. That belief began to rot the night the whisper spoke his name before it was written. It happened just after the moon climbed over the pylons of the Temple of Amun. His oil lamp burned low, shadows stretching like long fingers across the reed mats. Horemheb was halfway through copying a list of offerings for the tomb of a minor noble named Kinwaset when the air grew suddenly cold, wrongly cold, like stone that had never seen the sun. Then, softly, from the corner of the room, Horemheb. He froze. No one spoke his name like that. Not aloud, not slowly, as if tasting each sound. He turned, lamp trembling in his hand. The corner was empty. Just the wall. Just the clay jars. Just darkness folded thick as cloth. He exhaled shakily and told himself it was exhaustion. He had spent the day in the Valley of the Kings, cataloging an older tomb that had been breached by floodwaters, one whose name had been scratched away by time itself. That was where it began. He didn't know it yet. The whisper came again that night, closer this time. Right behind his ear. "You walk upon my bones." Horemheb screamed and dropped the lamp. Oil splashed, flames licking the floor before sputtering out. He scrambled to his feet, heart hammering like a drum for the dead, and fled into the street. The city slept. Dogs stirred. Somewhere, a priest coughed in his dreams. No one heard him. From that night on, Horemheb was never alone again. The ghost did not appear as the dead were supposed to. It did not glow. It did not wear linen. It did not smell of natron or myrrh. When it finally showed itself, 3 nights later, it came as a shape cut out of the world, a hole where reality bent away. Horemheb awoke to the sound of scraping. Stone against stone, slow, patient. He sat up. At the foot of his bed stood something tall and wrong, its body long and narrow, like a man stretched by centuries of pressure. Its face was smooth, no eyes, no mouth, yet he felt its gaze pressing into his skull. The air filled with the scent of wet earth and old blood. "I am called Sekhem-Ur," it said, though it never moved its mouth. "I was old when your gods were still learning their names." Horemheb tried to pray. The words tangled in his throat. Sekhem-Ur stepped closer. The reed mat beneath its feet blackened and cracked as if burned by frost. "You scribes think death begins at burial," the thing continued. "But I was buried before death was invented." The room darkened. The walls seemed to stretch away, their paintings flaking, revealing older marks beneath, symbols Horemheb had never seen, carved not by chisels but by hands that bent like roots. "I was sealed beneath the sand when the river first learned how to flow," Sekhem-Ur said. "And today, you counted my bones." Horemheb remembered the flooded tomb. The nameless one. The bones that were wrong, too large, joints twisted, skull elongated like it had grown sideways. The way the priests had refused to bless it. The way the foreman ordered it closed again without offerings. "I didn't know," Horemheb whispered. Sekhem-Ur leaned down, its faceless head inches from his own. "All ghosts are born from ignorance." Then it vanished. From that night forward, time began to rot around Horemheb. His shadow moved when he did not. His reflection in water blinked seconds too late. Names he wrote began to bleed ink long after the reed pen left the page. Worse, the dead began to recognize him. As he passed tombs, sealed doors thumped from the inside. Mummified fingers scratched beneath stone lids. Priests whispered that something was wrong with the West Bank, that the Duat had grown restless. Horemheb sought help from Neferet, a priestess of Sekhmet known for driving out malevolent spirits. She listened in silence as he spoke, her painted eyes never leaving his face. When he finished, she swallowed hard. "This thing is not a ghost," she said. "It is a remnant, a memory that refuses to die." She burned incense older than her temple, chanting names that scraped the air raw. Shadows recoiled. The flame guttered. Then Neferet screamed. Behind Horemheb, the air tore open like flesh. Sekhem-Ur emerged, larger now, its form swelling as if fed by fear. "You build tombs atop my prisons," it said. "You paint gods over my scars." The priestess fell to her knees, blood streaming from her nose. "This land remembers me," the thing continued. "And through him," it gestured to Horemheb, "I will be remembered again." Neferet clawed her eyes out before Horemheb could stop her. Sekhem-Ur laughed. The sound was like sand pouring into a skull. The hauntings worsened. Horemheb stopped sleeping. When he closed his eyes, he saw a desert before deserts, skies without stars, massive shapes crawling and dying beneath a sun that burned wrong. He saw Sekhem-Ur being bound by ancient hands, not human hands, sealed beneath layers of earth long before hieroglyphs were dreams. "You are my mouth now," Sekhem-Ur whispered endlessly. "Write me free." Horemheb tried to flee the city. The river turned black when he approached. Boats refused him passage. His feet bled as if the ground rejected him. At last, broken and hollow-eyed, he returned to the flooded tomb. The stone seal had cracked open. Inside, the bones were gone. Only one thing remained carved into the wall, fresh, deep, and wet with blood. Horemheb. The air shifted. He felt it enter him. Sekhem-Ur did not possess him violently. It settled, like something returning home. Horemheb screamed as his spine bent, as his shadow peeled away and stood taller than his body. His mouth filled with ancient words that tasted of rust and extinction. The last thing he understood, before his name was swallowed, was that Egypt itself was built to keep things like Sekhem-Ur buried. And now it walked again. Years later, scribes recorded a strange figure wandering the necropolis at night, tall, faceless, leaving footprints that sank too deep into stone. They said it whispered names that had never been written. They said the oldest tombs began to open. And beneath the sand, something older than gods began to remember the way back to the surface.